Do you want to increase your score on the English section of the ACT? Welcome to my new series where I've compiled my resources that I've used over the years to tutor multiple students to help them increase their sub-scores on the English section of the ACT. Before we begin the first lesson, take a look at the directions for the English section of the ACT. This tells you that we have 75 questions and 45 minutes in which to answer them. The directions explain the underlined portions and some of your possible answer choices, including no change, meaning the underlined portion is already correctly written as is. A lot of times you'll see omit the underlined portion, in which that would be the answer in the case that the underlined portion just needs to go away entirely, and upon deletion, the sentence or the passage would be correct. Now, I do want you to look at this one sentence in the directions. It says, you are to choose the best answer to the question. A lot of times my students in the past have spent a lot of valuable time during the timed test deliberating between what is the correct, according to conventional grammar or mechanics, what is the correct answer. Notice it doesn't say you must choose the correct answer, it says you must choose the best answer. Over the course of the series, we're going to look at these categories. We're going to look at usage and mechanics. Now, this usually makes up about 40 questions of the test. That includes punctuation, grammar and usage, sentence construction. Also, the English section will test you on your rhetorical skills. There's about 35 questions on this, and this deals with writing strategy, organization, and style. So what does it mean by style, and what does the ACT prefer as far as writing style? The first lesson in my tutoring series always begins with this: keep it short and sweet. So the one thing that you can learn about the English section of the ACT is that it wants you to avoid redundancy. So redundancy is when you're repeating yourself unnecessarily. You want to pack a lot of meaning in very few words. So here's a couple of sentences. So if you said, my legs are sore because I've been jumping up and down, you're being redundant. Why? Because it's the word, it's the act of jumping. It's kind of a given that when you, as a human being, jump, you're going to be jumping in the directions of up and down. Therefore, saying up and down after you said jumping really is unnecessary. So is there a shorter way you could write that? Yes, you could say, my legs are sore because I've been jumping. The meaning is still the same, and you've said it in fewer words, and that is like gold to the ACT. Question 1. You'll see that a section is underlined, and that is the section of the sentence that is in question. You have 4 answer choices, including A, no change, which means that the sentence is correct written as is. One strategy I tell my students to do is practice reading out loud to yourself, but silently, because as you take the ACT, you're likely in a room with other students, and reading out loud audibly is not an option. But it still helps to substitute each of the answer choices for the underlined section to see what sounds correct to you. If I were to read this question, I would try that as is, so that would be A. On recent ACTs, the shortest answer has been correct and absolutely right for about half of all English questions. Then I would go on to choice B, and I would substitute that. On recent ACTs, the shortest answer has been correct for about half of all English questions. Do you hear the difference? You can also substitute it with choice C. On recent ACTs, the shortest answer has been right, that is correct, for about half of all English questions. Now I'm going to try it with choice D. On recent ACTs, the shortest answer has been correct, absolutely, and right for about half of all English questions. As we consider avoiding redundancy, if we look at the underlined section, you'll see that the meaning of the word correct and the meaning derived from absolutely right are way too similar to repeat. Therefore, I know that A, no change, is probably not going to be the answer. When I consider choice C, it says right, that is correct. Again, I'm using multiple words for one meaning. That's redundant. I can get rid of that, and I can say that C is not the answer. Then I look at D. Again, D does the exact same thing. It says correct, absolutely, and right. There's no reason for so many words with one meaning, so I can eliminate choice D. That leaves choice B. And again, when I substitute choice B for the underlined portion, that sounds perfect. Based on what I've just gone over, can you answer the first part of this question, the answer choices on the left, by yourself correctly in less than 3 seconds? 3, 2, 1. If you chose F, no change, you would be correct. Choices G, H, and J, all of those are redundant. There's too many words. The truth and a fact mean too much of the same thing. Fact, correct, fact, true, all of that. It's redundant. So the shortest answer in this case is the correct answer. And you were able to answer that super quickly. Now see if you can answer the question on the right-hand side by yourself. And ask yourself, what would be the shortest and simplest way to write this sentence? The best way to edit this sentence is to completely remove the underlined section entirely. Choice A, B, and C just add extra unnecessary words. They don't contribute to the meaning of the sentence in any way, and it's really just best to delete it entirely, leaving us with a sentence that reads, "Because this is true, a student who knows no English at all could earn an English subject score of about 15. In choosing choice D, I haven't eliminated any real meaning to the sentence, and it's correct without it. What is the best and most simple way to say this sentence? Question 4. Such a student could compare the choices carefully and choose the single shortest one every time. F, no change. G, singularly shortest one. H, uniquely short item. Or J, shortest one. Choice F, no change. Single shortest one. If you notice, it's 3 words, and it's a little redundant because single and one also mean the same thing. Singularly shortest one, as in choice G, is too long, it's too wordy. And again, it kind of has the same meaning with one and singularly. H, uniquely short item. Or J, shortest one. J is the answer. That is the simplest and easiest way, and it still retains the same meaning. Question 5. On recently published ACTs, guessing in this way would have yielded between 35 and 38 correct answers out of 75 questions. Of course, you're going to be doing much better than that. B, doing. Is that A, no change? B, do, C, achieve, or D, be achieving? Notice in both answer choices A and D, we have be followed by an ing verb. The ACT is all about using active voice. So we don't need to have this type of verb structure, be doing or be achieving. Instead, let's just use that active voice, that present verb. It's going to be either do or achieve. So now that it's between B and C, what makes sense? Choice B. You're going to do much better than that. Question 6. Just by looking at this, can you answer this on your own? F no change says, are actually capable of speaking the English language. G is very similar and very wordy. H is also very similar and very wordy as well. Actually, if I look at it, H possessed the capability of speaking in the land called England. That has absolutely nothing to do with the topic at hand. We haven't said anything about English as far as a place, England, a country. So we know that it's not going to be H right away. Again, F and G are very similar to each other, but what is the best and shortest way to get across the same idea but in fewer words? Choice J. You speak English. Obviously, getting the question right because you know the right answer is better than getting it right because you guessed well. Look at your answer choices. Best choice to select, most correct answer of the choice given, and answer considered as correct. Which one of these is probably the wordiest way to say this? Probably choice C. We can eliminate choice C. We can also eliminate choice D. Answer considered as correct. Well, considering correct is what an answer is, so that whole thing is redundant. So we've got best choice to select or right answer. What is the simplest way to say this? A, no change. Right answer. Question 8. Still, you should always remember that the ACT test makers like the shortest answers. Why should the ACT make life so easy for you? Is it F, no change? G, have a habit of liking? H, habitually tend to like? Or J, are in the habit of liking? Right away, I can discern that G, H, and J are all extremely similar. What is the shortest answer and what retains the meaning? Choice F, no change. ACT test makers like the shortest answer. Here's another tip. Whenever I glance at my answer choices and I look at sometimes the last answer choice and it says omit the underlined portion. Now, I'm not saying that it's more often the correct answer, but it does save me time sometimes to maybe check and consider that one first. So when I look at this, and remember, we're reading this as a passage as a whole, why can't history or science classes in high school be so easy? Usually the best way to write something really is the shortest way to write it. So that underlined portion, ask yourself, is that on topic for that passage as a whole? If you answered, yeah, that's off topic, you would be correct. We just basically need to omit the underlined portion altogether. It has nothing to do with the passage. And the other answer choices, they don't have anything to do with the passage either. So it's very easy to say that D, just omitting that, deleting that entire underlined portion is the best choice. Question 10. Good writing is concise and clear. There are many rules of English, but many of them grow from one dominant principle. Use only the words you need to say what you mean. Is it F, no change? G, clearly better? H, translucent, like clear water? Or J, clear? Thus, it is short and to the point. One of these answer choices makes absolutely no sense. Look at H. It says translucent like clear water. That takes on a very literal meaning, and the words are not going to be translucent like water. So H is kind of out there. So we can eliminate that right away. What's the next longest way to say this? J says clear. It retains that, but then it adds another sentence at the end. Thus, it is short and to the point. Do we really need to use that extra sentence to explain the meaning of clear? No, not really. I think clear is clear enough itself. And then we have G, clearly better. Would it be correct to say good writing is concise and clearly better? Or can I just stick with good writing is concise and clear? In order to be more parallel in our writing, concise is one word and clearly better is two words. And then we're adding in that, ly ending clearly. Let's just get rid of all of that. Let's keep it simple. Good writing is concise and clear. Many times at the end of an English section passage, you will have a yes or no type question followed by a justification statement as to why you chose yes or no. This one says, suppose the author considers adding this final sentence. This is usually marked by a little square where they want to add that final sentence in the actual passage. Thus, if you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all. Would this be an effective conclusion for the paragraph? So before I even look at my answer choices, I try to answer the yes or no question to myself, and right away I'm thinking no. And why am I thinking that? Well, I'm thinking no because that kind of has nothing to do with the passage as a whole. The passage is talking about a writing style that's clear and concise, not, unnecessarily wordy. And this is kind of having to do with, manners and try not to hurt people's feelings. Like, that's what I'm thinking. So now that I've kind of answered that question for myself, now I'm going to look at my answer choices and see if any of those line up. Well, I said no, and if you look at it, usually there's two that would say yes and two that would say no. In this case, we only have one answer choice that says no, and it says D, no, because the paragraph is not concerned with being nice. Okay, so I would say, yeah, that could probably be my answer. If I glance at A, B, and C, I know that those really don't have anything to do. They're not true. A, because this concept is needed to explain the meaning of the previous sentence. No, we don't need that. B, yes, because it adds an uplifting moral tone to an otherwise depressing amoral text. No, that's completely wrong. C, yes, because this thought is relevant to the next paragraph. Well, there is no next paragraph. That was the end of the entire passage. So our answer would clearly be D.